As we all know, the political witch hunt continues, and it will resume once again in New York with Donald Trump on Monday. He is off today. Yeah, absolutely. They want him off the campaign trail. He is Joe Biden's biggest competition. And if they can't do it one way or another, they'll find another way to do it. And they're doing it right now. Now, this was kind of interesting. Earlier, I think this was earlier in the week, Mitt Romney came out and said something I thought was pretty interesting. He said, if I were president, if I was Joe Biden, and all this started with the political witch hunt, I would have pardoned him immediately in the New York trial because it would have been, politically probably a better thing for him. To talk about this is Samuel Raus, who's a political analyst and also a commentator with Young Voices. Samuel, welcome in. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
I got to tell you, I'm kind of with Romney on this. If Joe Biden had decided to do this, it makes him the bigger guy in all this, right? But by not doing it, and which I think he is probably part of the roundtable discussion about doing it, but it made it a win-win for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think the challenging part about this is by traditional politics and traditional standards, what Romney's saying is completely right. This would have undercut the case and prevented it from spiraling out of control, potentially made the primary a little bit more challenging for Trump. But on the flip side, if anything came out that said that Biden was, trying to prevent this case, or if he had came out and publicly pardoned, I think it would have continued to degrade his standing within the Democratic Party and within the uber progressive voters, particularly my generation, that are already kind of wavering on him, already seeing him as not fitting their mold on certain extreme issues. And that's a challenge for the Biden campaign right now. It's a challenge for them to be able to win an election without even having their base on board. It's a lot harder to persuade independents than it is your base normally. So I think it's kind of a lose-lose situation whether he would have done this or not. And ultimately, the way it works out is beneficial to the Trump campaign regardless.
Every time he gets another case thrown at him, his approval ratings go through the roof. Anytime he rallies and jumps out there on the campaign trail when he is not in court, more and more thousands of people show up. So I think you're right. It is a win-win for Donald Trump. And Joe Biden's got his own struggles and battles. Let's talk about that for a minute. If you're part of the DNC, behind the scenes, what are they talking about as far as him actually getting to November 5th and being the guy? Do you think there's actual discussion going on that we're not sure we need to move forward with him anymore?
Well, to me, at least, both the Trump trial and the discussions about the president's age and mental acuity are kind of, it's really distracting us from some of these much bigger issues. I mean, we're seeing two major conflicts in the world. We're seeing really serious issues happening at our, higher education system. We're, continuing to deal with different health issues, different issues with the economy, and yet we're really focused on these two guys and their personal problems. Yeah. So what I have no insight into the DNC. I have no involvement with the DNC. I'm sure they have a contingency plan. I'm also sure that the GOP has some sort of contingency plan if these cases end up more serious. So I can't predict that, but I think it's a bit distracting right now, and it's unfortunate that the hush money discussions is what we're talking about when there's such serious things going on that's impacting life or death situations of certain people.
Good point. Samuel Raus, I appreciate you this morning. Thank you. Have a good weekend. It's political analyst there from Young Voices, Samuel Raus.